Welcome, good morning, and welcome to Smashy Business. We've rebranded slightly from Smashy Business Daily to Smashy Business. I'm Lumna Hamdan.
I'm Farah Makhlouf.
Welcome, Farah. Farah didn't want to do the show today. I promise it'll be fast, Farah. It'll be quick and painless, all right? So we're on a bit of a deadline today, so we're going to go through the news real quick because we've got an exclusive interview with the co-founder of Sowt.com and the co-founder of Rising Giants. It's the acquisition everyone is talking about. But first, the news. A Dubai crypto boss has called the U.S. financial crimes enforcement network FinCEN a mob of thugs on X, formerly Twitter, in a now deleted tweet. And then great news for the region, the acquisition that I just mentioned, stay tuned for that. And then Pepsi has cemented its presence in Saudi Arabia by announcing a deal to become the gold partner of the Saudi Pro League. Great news for Saudi, isn't it?
It's just definitely.
It's just doing so many impressive things. Right, a mob of thugs. That's a pretty strong statement,
yeah,
isn't it?
That's intense.
So the founder of cryptocurrency payments gateway, Coin Payments, has accused the U.S. Department of the Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, what a long name, FinCEN, of being a mob of thugs following claims that they've accused him of financial crime, according to a now deleted tweet seen by Smashy Business. So Alex Alexandrov is the co-founder of open source blockchain company Velas as well. And he said that FinCEN is accusing Coin Payments of helping to fund child abuse and terrorism.
That is just wild.
It's not the first time we've heard that there's trouble in the crypto paradise. It was a paradise for so long, wasn't it? It was just a money-making machine.
Yeah.
So Alex said a lot of things in his tweet. There were a lot of profanities. He was in a bad mood when he put it out there. The tweet is exclusively on Smashy Business's Instagram. Go check it out. We're going to put a link out for you as well. It's a pretty iconic tweet, I would say. He literally tells them to go to hell. But that's not what's interesting. What's interesting is that we've seen a lot of trouble when it comes to crypto. Last year, we saw Sam Bankman-Fried, who once led one of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges. He was found guilty of fraud and money laundering after his firm FTX went bankrupt.
Yikes.
Closer to home, UAE-based Changpeng, who is better known as CZ, the CEO of course, the world's largest crypto exchange, Binance, was recently banned from leaving the US ahead of his sentencing in February. Crypto regulations remained flexible in the UAE. In Dubai and Abu Dhabi now, everyone in the crypto world, in the blockchain world, is coming here to the UAE.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you think that is?
The UAE is just a hub for a lot of different things, and cryptocurrency, is definitely one of them. So,
you know what? I think it's because they're not easily spooked here in the UAE, right? The investors are just eager to invest and eager to have all of these exciting, albeit risky, businesses come here because crypto is very volatile, right? But it's very interesting. So right now, there are more than 5,000, just an interesting fact for you guys, just to see the comparison, right? There were only 46 SPVs located in the Abu Dhabi global markets. That was in 2016. There are now 5,000. And some of those vehicles are linked to India's Adani family, hedge fund billionaire Ray Dalio, and Russian steel magnate Vladimir Lysin. So exciting.
Yeah,
exciting stuff.
Definitely.
Right. Up next, we've got Jordan's Sowt Media acquires Dubai-based podcast platform Rising Giants. It's the acquisition everyone is talking about. So Sowt Media is a digital audio media company that focuses on premium Arabic content in the form of podcasts. Their content is actually really, really interesting. It has acquired, as it has done before, but this time it has acquired Dubai-based Rising Giants, which scripts and produces what it describes as immersive podcast experiences. Now, we've seen a lot of these companies, right? They come up on the scene and then they die out just a couple months later. It's really hard to make it in the content industry right now because it's so competitive, isn't it?
Yeah, everyone's doing a podcast.
Everyone and their mother is doing a podcast.
So it's really hard to put yourself out there and be the the main person and the person that everybody wants to go to listen to a podcast. So it's pretty competitive over here.
You know what the difference is, though? The difference is that these guys know exactly what they're doing. And they do a lot of, they do everything from rock and roll music to politics. They talk about dictators in the Middle East, and they talk about their stories. And it's great to see quality content out there. It's great to see people who do that. There are so many influencers just doing these, really silly podcasts. So yeah, anyways, another dig at influencers. There you go.
It's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we welcome in Basel from Rising Giants, and Ramsey is waiting on Zoom right now, just going to quickly go through the PepsiCo story. So Pepsi is making moves and cementing its presence in Saudi Arabian football. It just announced a deal to become the gold partner of the Saudi Pro League. It's a pretty big deal. And it's going to be the official water partner through its product Aquafina, official soft drinks partner through Pepsi, of course, official sports drink partner Gatorade. Wow, okay. I feel really old. And official potato chips partner Lay's. So obviously the partnership is going to include a series of activations and events aimed at enhancing, of course, fans' engagement on match days. A friend of mine works for Pepsi. It's a great move by Pepsi, and their activations are iconic. So it's going to be exciting.
That's a perfect partnership.
It's going to be exciting to see that.
Yeah.
Right. Farah, thank you. I told you that was going to be quick and painless.
It really was.
So you're going to come back on the show, right, next week?
We'll see.
Or
if there's a breaking story, please have me. I would love to sit and talk about it.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you, Farah.
Thank you.
And thanks, guys. Stay tuned. Basel is going to be coming in just a couple seconds. Stay with me. Ramsey, we're also going to be speaking to him. Speak to you soon. Welcome back, guys. We've got Ramsey Tesdell, who I've been calling Ramsey this whole time. But you know what? You're half American, Ramsey, right? So it's fine.
It works. I would say it works, yeah.
Ramsey, welcome. We've got you. Whatever I want. Okay, nice. I like it. Co-founder of Sowt, of course, and then with us in the studio, Basel. Anabtawi. Basel, yes.
Since we're saying names wrong.
If I were British, it would probably be Basel.
Basil, yes.
Imagine
I mean, Basil.
that.
I heard Basil before. I heard a lot of different.
I'm not
names.
surprised. You should hear how they pronounce my name.
Yeah.
I'm not even.
Yours is quite straightforward, I would say.
Lubna, yeah. It's Lubna.
Oh, Lebna.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Lebna. Ramsey, I don't know if you love Lebanese.
Childhood trauma.
I'm getting hungry now.
Just bringing out the trauma in this session. It's a therapy session. Sorry, go on.
No worries.
Basel, yes.
So Basel, this is going to be fun. I can tell already. Basel is the co-founder and CEO of Rising Giants. Congratulations to both of you. Sowt has just acquired Rising Giants.
I know.
How does it feel?
The plan was to acquire Sowt, but then they had more power over us.
The script.
So they had more power over us. No, it feels amazing. I think first I respect Ramsey a lot. I'm not just saying this because we're on camera.
Yeah, because off camera that was another situation.
We did say we were going to do beef. I do not like Ramsey, but he does. No, I do. I like Ramsey a lot. I think he's a fantastic guy. And Ramsey and I actually met a few years ago. And when I had my Basel Meets podcast, it was just me doing my own podcast. But then with time, it grew. And then, Ramsey and I started having calls every month to just kind of compare notes and see where we are with our respective podcast networks. Nice. And I just think that we dated for a while. And we just saw.
And now he's your sugar daddy.
He's my sugar daddy now. So we saw like a nice fit for Rising Giants to fit within Sowt. And we were having a conversation for the past couple of months, and we found the right synergies between what Sowt offers and the type of IPs that Rising Giants built over the past couple of years, 3 years. And there's no better place, I think there's no better home for the IPs of Rising Giants than with Sowt and my man Ramsey. I keep looking there because Ramsey's in front of me. So
yeah, sure. Go ahead. You can look whatever you want. Just feel free and comfortable. Because the more comfortable you feel, the more I can get out of you. So
yes, please.
Ramsey, how do you feel about this partnership? And why did you choose Rising Giants? I guess. I mean, you guys chose each other, obviously, but tell me a little bit about the thinking behind it.
Yeah, we were definitely to take the dating metaphor a little bit further. This is our second acquisition, and it's kind of like having a second child. You think you know a lot about what's going to happen. You have ideas of, you have things that have happened before. You feel like you're in a smarter, better position. And then you realize the second child's completely different than the first child. And so this is kind of how I feel about this. You're super excited. There's even more excitement about this acquisition, but I think there's always surprises and whatnot. And I think what we're really excited about is a couple of different things. Obviously, the content is great. It fits in well to the Sowt family. Growing the audiences is really important. And I think for us, as Sowt, our core values are to have bold content that highlights the diversity of the region, and the content that Basel and Rising Giants have put together over the last couple of years has been really exciting and has done really well. And so I think marrying those two networks together has been a really good thing. So we're really excited about it. We're really happy to continue to be working with the Rising Giants family as they join ours and Basel in particular, and seeing how far we can push this, because we really think podcasting has a lot of growth left, and so that's what we're excited about.
I'm glad you're saying that about podcasting. I do have a question about it because it's become rather saturated, I would say. But first, you said this conversation is different from the first one. Obviously, your acquisition was in 2022. It was FinCEN Media, Dubai-based as well. How's the conversation different this time?
Yeah, I mean, I think this time we're a bit more mature. We kind of know, we know the mistakes that we made last time. Obviously, nothing works out perfectly.
Are you saying
we're excited about incorporating the content into our existing portfolio and producing more episodes of a bunch of the shows. And I think there's a lot of excitement from both sides, from the hosts, from the talent that Rising Giants has worked with in the past, and also from our team to produce a lot more really good content that reaches a lot of diverse audiences in the Middle East. And I think, the other thing that has been really different is that we're excited about working with Basel and some of the team. With FinCEN, it was a bit different. We took over just the shows, and we started producing those, and we had to go, there was some growing pains for sure. We had to change some of the characters, some of the voice actors didn't move on and whatnot. But with this acquisition, I think, we're hitting the ground running with Abdullah Naimi and Kussi Lithnain. He published his first episode, I think, of the 4th season yesterday. And Mace, we're just at the start of production there. And there's several other shows that we're just starting to discuss with them what other episodes we can do with them. And so I think we're in a much different place and a much more mature place than we were last time.
So you're saying basically FinCEN Media was a little bit of a pain. Tell me a little bit about the challenges. It's okay if it was. Do you regret it?
I mean, all children are painful, right? So
let's go with that metaphor.
No, I definitely don't regret it. And I think, without that, we couldn't have had this. And the team of FinCEN, Leila, Shadi, and Majid were super professional, and they were lovely to work with. And Basel has been lovely to work with as well, and we're excited about that. But there's always growing pains, teething. We could take this metaphor to the end of the road, but there's always pains. But that's what makes it beautiful, to be honest. Without that, gets quite boring pretty quickly.
That is true. Basel, it's judging by this conversation, it's not going to be a boring ride for you.
Yeah, no.
So the podcast market, you guys think there is obviously still room for growth. I do as well. I love the content on both platforms. It's really very insightful, different to a lot of the silly stuff out there where there's no context, there's no value when you're listening to it. So I do think we
How do you really
content.
feel?
How do you really feel? Yeah. Again.
Tell us more about
what
you.
a deep, question. What a concept. Tell me about your thoughts on how much potential is there for growth in the podcast market right now in audio?
Yeah, look, I think it's interesting. I think when people look at podcasts as a separate thing from content, content is content, and people are going to consume content. Even if we all cease to exist tomorrow, other people are going to be creating content, and the same people are going to go somewhere else to consume that content. So I think the content space will continuously grow, and it's just, there's people always looking for new content. And so I think what podcast does really well is the long form piece of the content. So it's like that laid back viewing, or whether you're running, or whether you are doing something else like a chore.
For cultured people.
Am I right? Yes, for extremely cultured people. So as long as I think that's what podcast does really well. In fact, sometimes you could find like comedy podcasts. Like one of my favorite shows, it's actually audio and video. It's called Kill Tony, and it's a completely it's just 2 hours of debauchery and comedy and that type of thing. Nice. So there's for all types of people. Yeah. There's something in the podcasting space. So I think if we look at it as a content business, and I know that that's how we looked at RGN. It's a content business that predominantly gets looked at or dubbed as a podcast. Mm-hmm. Then there's definitely always growth, always room for growth, and I see that the podcasting game still has a long way to go. As in, there's a lot of room for growth. Mm-hmm. We see it with our clients. They talk to us a lot about podcasts, especially and specifically in Saudi Arabia. It has become mainstream. It is really mainstream. Like I would go in an Uber and he's not listening to radio, he's listening to a podcast, Nice. So I think it's an incredible time to be in, and not just for Sowt and Rising Giants, but also you look at Mike's and Thamania and what they're doing and what they're building, and the ecosystem seems to be more mature right now than what it was before.
I absolutely agree with you, and it's not just that. I think with all the political events that are happening, I feel there's a shift, and people want more homegrown. They want to change the narrative. We don't just want to consume American Western content. No,
absolutely, yeah.
We want to consume local content. We want to listen to. Fadi Ghandour just put it up on his LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago, and it was the time of the ICJ trial, and none of the the BBCs and the CNNs were not covering it, and he said, we know where to get our news, and it's not from you.
Right.
So I definitely think right now, is the chance to do this.
Absolutely.
What is the plan now with the acquisition?
For me, well, I don't know. I'd let Ramsey lead on this first, and then I can piggyback on what he says.
Sure.
I mean, I think the plan is to I mean, there's basically 3 things that we're looking at. We want to make sure that the content we're producing is super professional. So we're going to take the shows, we're going to produce them, we're going to produce a lot of episodes, in coordination with the hosts and the talent that we're working with. The second thing is our focus is to grow the audiences. So once you have a really good content, and I would agree with Basel and Lubna on this point that content is the core of all that, whether it's a video, whether it's an audio, whether it's an Instagram, post or reel or a YouTube short. It's really the core aspect of that is the content. And so I think, making sure that you have the content right, you have the audience, which is growing. So these are new audiences that we're introducing to each other. And then finally, to add the layer of financial sustainability on that, we have to monetize this content, and we're going to do that through sponsorships, through advertising, and exclusive subscription offerings. And so this is the plan. There's a lot of Rising Giants RGN content that fits in really well already to our kind of slate and our plan for the future, and we think the next couple of years that's really going to grow. And just to the point about podcasts, I think our just on Sowt level, Sowt's audience doubled last year. So from 2022 to 2023, we saw a doubling of that audience growth, and so that's fantastic. And we want to continue that rate into this year. And I think podcasts are really good for talking about interesting topics, providing context, having honest conversations, and hearing different voices. And I think that's where we really try to focus our energy and in producing that type of content. So I think those are the exciting things about audio and audio podcasts and video podcasts.
Absolutely.
I would say one thing about Sowt. So we had several conversations, maybe that's a scoop, before we landed with Sowt. And the reason we did is because, I have a very personal interest in the people who did shows with us. So Maisa Muhammad, Abdullah Naimi, Maya Hajej, Bara Sabbah, all of these people who worked with us, like I have a very personal interest in seeing them succeed.
Nice.
And so I think the one person that my mind kept going back to was Ramsey and Sowt, because I felt that they could provide them this sort of environment and the care for their shows to grow and succeed. So and I think Ramsey can attest to this. How many times I told him about Mace, Abdullah, these guys, like just making sure that take care of them. Like these are the guys. These are my people. So I think we kept going back, and even though we had different methods on the table or different entities that were talking to us, we kept going back to Sowt because I think Sowt was the company that we felt was the best fit for these people to have this type of home.
Are any of those entities Dubai-based by any chance?
They
or UAE-based, I would say.
Yeah,
UAE,
I would say so. Some are UAE. Yeah, UAE-based, I would say.
Okay.
That's as far as I can go.
Cool.
But Ramsey.
Color of the logo? Okay.
Yeah, I can't say.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
I want to give you something,
we'll talk about it later.
But definitely, Ramsey was definitely, and Sowt were definitely the home that we felt could be the best suited. And I know that our podcasters are super excited. I spoke to them all personally, and they're all super excited to be working with Sowt. Even when I told them, like, first we were saying that we were talking about it, and I didn't tell them who it was. But then when I said it was Sowt, everybody got really, really excited that it was Sowt. So yeah.
Because we have seen a lot of acquisitions go wrong, I would say. For Kareem, for example, the Uber acquisition was great. But everyone is saying, should have Kareem, sold out.
Well, I mean, $3 billion.
Yeah, it is.
Which way you see it?
It is a lot of money, absolutely. And then you've got Sowt as well with Amazon. But everyone just wonders had they not sold out, could they have taken Uber down?
Yeah, true.
Right. The question on everyone's minds, the number.
Oh.
How much?
It's a very complicated thing, and I think we're both tied to NDAs that we cannot mention. But Ramsey, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think we, obviously we're not gonna say anything about that in too much detail. But I think we came up with a deal that worked for both of us, and I think it helps. I've been saying for quite a while that we need more consolidation in the industry. We need people to work together, and we've had a lot of conversations too about other acquisitions. Looking at other players out there. To consolidate and work together, and we couldn't find the right formula. With Basel and Rising Giants, we came up with the right formula, and it works for us and it works for them. And I think everybody came out of this happy. And obviously, the logic, the mathematics of acquisitions, M&As, mergers and acquisitions are really important here. It's got to be a 1 + 1 equals, it's got to be greater than 2. So it's got to be a 3 or 4 or 5. And so we came up with a formula that made that, good for us and good for them. And ultimately good for the audience. And this is what really is important here.
Absolutely. And it really is great to see such an acquisition in the market here. One last question, because I know we're running short of time, and Basel,
No, actually my meeting just got pushed till tomorrow.
Yeah? Oh, great.
For you.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you. I'm grateful for that.
But still, it's getting hot.
It is getting hot in here.
Yeah, there's a lot of lights in the studio.
We turned off the AC to get you
Ramsey, is it raining in Amman? How's it going?
It's nice and cool here. Weather's great. So.
You're fine over there. Okay.
We're holding Basel hostage basically until he answers all the questions.
I cut you off. Yeah. Sorry.
In the hot seat. Tell me about the monetization part of the business. Obviously, a lot of not just content platforms, a lot of the tech platforms, a lot of the, Facebook just paid its investors its first dividends. Well, it's going to in March, but just announced that it will. But X is formerly Twitter, is not doing that great. Spotify as well. There are so many platforms in the content. I think social/content/tech. How are the challenges? How challenging is it to monetize on this content?
Yeah. I mean, I could tell. I mean, it's a question of, I think, scale. Like, I think that's that's what brands look for. At least from my experience. Maybe Ramsey has a different experience, but from mine, I think brands continuously look for two things. I think one is obviously relevancy of the content to their content, to their brand, and second is scale. How much reach and impressions can you get me? And I think in the past we've worked with Sowt before to kind of like double or triple impressions and reach for a client. So I guess it does make sense where we are bringing both worlds together, because we've done this work before, and obviously with a lot of support from Sowt. But has it been easy? No, it hasn't. Obviously, it's a challenging thing, and I think this is true for any business, that you have to continuously keep monetizing. I think there's new tools now, so like there's programmatic tools that are really helpful in passive income. There's the Apple subscription tool as well, but the core still remains with the brands, and I think these are the biggest sort of deals that we make are with brands, and show takeovers and white labels and stuff like that.
Right.
That remains to be, I think, the biggest source of revenue. But I think when Ramsey and I were talking, because you're talking about this deal. The core of the deal is partnership.
Right.
It's having us involved in whatever Sowt is doing as well. And so our core is to grow the shows, scale the shows, and make sure that we monetize the shows themselves. And I think that's the core of what we're thinking.
And investing in people as well, right? Like if you look at the top podcasts, it's all about the person. Like Joe
Correct.
Rogan.
Yeah.
For women, it's Alexandra Cooper. She's now doing really well for herself.
Yeah.
So it is about investing
Absolutely.
in the people.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the core things that we have is having the right people to do shows. So I think Ramsey can maybe
just really quick. I mean,
deny.
I could step in and say, if you look at Spotify, they had a great year last year. If you look at Acast, which is another Swedish podcast company that does hosting and monetization, they had a great year. All their numbers went up. Their efficiencies went up. So we're seeing things move in the right direction. I think, the chasing scale will kind of have its own logical end. And I don't see that as a good thing necessarily. I agree with Basel that a lot of brands look for that. I think there are other things that we can offer that are more, that are valuable, maybe not necessarily more valuable, but as valuable as scale and numbers. And that's, context, authenticity, diversity, and some of those things that people are really looking for. Those are values that people, humans seek out. And so as a content platform, as a content person, this is where we focus. And then, figuring out the monetization, the scale, the audience numbers after that is a part of that game. We're really excited. I'm very, very bullish about next year, and I think it's going to be a great year.
I love this, and I love the partnership between two local companies because, and I don't want to keep quoting him, but he's just too legendary. Fadi Ghandour, I remember I was at I used to work for Arabian Business, and we had a conference, and Mohammed Al-Habbar gave a speech about how it's important to support startups in the region, and then Fadi Ghandour went up on stage after him, and he said, I'm sorry, Abu Rashid, but where were you? When we were asking for RMX, we were asking support. No one was around. Please do actually, invest and support startups. It was a huge moment. Yeah,
wow.
Everyone kind of went silent on stage.
Wow.
But speaking of, there's always space for another good thing. I remember a couple of years ago, I interviewed Jason Atherton, who was coached by Gordon Ramsay, and he was opening a restaurant here. And I said, at the time, obviously F&B was even more saturated than it is today here in Dubai. And I said, why another restaurant? And he said, well, because there's always space for another good restaurant as long as the restaurant
You love to eat.
is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love food.
Yeah, but then it's
What's
not
the
just,
restaurant?
the restaurant was social.
Okay.
Social Marina Social.
Marina, shout
That
out.
was the restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah, and
We'll
then
go try it.
they've got a new one in Grosvenor's house as
Dana,
well.
we should book.
Should
Anyway.
book that when Ramsey, you're going to be in town next
Yeah,
week,
exactly.
right?
Well, Ramsey's buying dinner.
I'll be in town next week, so dinner's on me.
Okay, yeah.
It's an amazing place, by the way.
Is it?
Really, really good food.
Okay.
Better than Gordon Ramsay. Sorry,
shots
Gordon.
fired.
But But Lubna, you were saying that you think podcasts and content is saturated. I would argue that good content, there isn't a saturation, and as Basel said, there always is a need for good content. Whether it's high quality, contextual, diverse or interesting content that is looking at new ideas in new ways. I think those are really important things, and so I would argue that there is absolutely not a saturation of that. There's a saturation of a lot of content that doesn't fulfill some of those ideas.
I mean, I'd look at it, we're going to get a little philosophical.
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
do it.
Netflix just gained, X amount of users. I don't know what the number is. And then you look at Disney and they lost X amount of users as well.
Right. Great point. Yeah.
But then you ask why, why is that the case? Disney has a lot of great content, on Disney Plus. And Netflix doesn't have as much.
Mm-hmm.
But what gets Netflix to gain
they know
users,
their audience. Yeah.
They know their audience really well. That's super key. They put out, they really study the type of, as silly as maybe we find Dubai Bling or whatever, there's an audience for it.
Absolutely.
And they're doing season 2 and season 3, and people are eating it up, and now they're doing Love is Blind in Arabic.
They're betting on local audiences.
Yeah, and when I saw Love is Blind in Arabic, because my wife and I, we saw Love is Blind. I'm totally.
No, hey, I watch it. I'm shamelessly.
And I sent it to her. I was like, we are canceling all of our plans because this is what we're watching. Love is Blind in Arabic. Can you imagine? It's gonna be amazing.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah.
So I think the fact that they know their audience and they curate the content that they put out as originals aren't as many as Disney, but it's programmed in the right way. It comes out at the right time, and it hits the right audience. And the most important thing is that their content goes into the culture. The culture eats up their content, and the culture talks about Netflix content and not the oversaturated content on Disney Plus or wherever else.
Yeah, like that Friends movie. أصدقاء ولا أعز.
Yes, exactly. So that, when that came out, the culture was talking about that type of movie. So
exactly.
I think, and I think
same thing with the Rawabi School for Girls.
Exactly. So they have another season coming out, and that getting people excited about that. Now they have their deal with the Saudi creators. I believe it was U-Turn and Tilfaz, or Tilfaz, I think is the company. So they're gaining that Saudi audience. So that localized approach of what they're doing is great. And also they're supported by these hero moments, those big shows that they release globally, whether it's Squid Game or whatever it is, that brings the global audience in, and
absolutely. Sorry, go ahead, Bas.
No, so my to wrap this up in terms of what the podcasting scene is, I think, we see so much podcast and so much saturation and all that sort of stuff, but then the company that brings out these quality shows and the shows that get people talking and goes through the culture, I think that's where the opportunity lies, and that's where you can grow, and that's where you can start building conversations. Because at the end of the day, what you want is conversations around the dinner table, sharing on WhatsApp with friends, and that's what wins, and
exactly
gets people to
spot on.
Yeah,
spot on. I mean, even when it comes to Dubai Bling, what most people fail to understand, or maybe they're just ignoring that fact, is that it doesn't matter how silly the show is. It matters that everyone is talking about it.
Right.
And most people perhaps don't care about the characters there, or the narrative or the plot, but they love seeing their city on the screen.
That's another thing. That's true. Yeah.
So I mean, that is honestly I would say 90% of why I watch Dubai Bling is to see Dubai on Netflix.
Even Rawabi al-Banat, like
Yeah.
I liked seeing Amman, you know, like
Yeah.
because I grew up in Amman, and so seeing it on screen was
Exactly.
really cool, you know. And
Exactly.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
my.
I mean,
2
I
cents.
remember even at the time of Kareem and Uber, Uber wanted to acquire Kareem because it was failing in so many ways here in the region because it did not know. It did not know that, people in Egypt don't use credit cards. They want to pay cash. There are so many different things like and it's the same with content, right? You can't create English content in Bahrain and expect people to listen to it because people want to listen to Arabic content.
I think
So understanding
sorry.
our market,
Well, I would think when it comes to English content, I think this was true maybe a few years ago, but TikTok changed the game. I think there's a lot of English-speaking influencers who are local, who are doing super well
in the UAE.
In the UAE,
right.
And,
I was talking about Bahrain.
Bahrain in particular.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, when it comes to Spotify, do they really know the difference of the audience in Bahrain and the audience
true.
in
Okay,
Saudi?
I get you.
The Saudis are still not, they're still not open to having a non-Saudi presenter when it comes to shows, for example.
Yeah.
How is Spotify going to know that? Are they really digging deep into the market? I think you guys would have better knowledge when it comes to the region.
I mean, we're from the region, so
exactly.
I guess that's why we know the nuances of the region.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ramsey, anything you'd like to add? Sorry, we kind of.
No worries. No, I mean, this is really exciting. I think it's a great conversation about content, about the region. I think there's a lot of space for different types of content, whether it's video, TikTok, music. It's a really exciting moment. I mean, it's a really terrible moment at the same time, what's happening in Palestine, but I think it's really important to remember that and to fight for justice there, but at the same time celebrate some of the successes and some of the good things that are happening in the region at the same time. And I think fundamentally at the beginning and the end of every day, I think it's important to hold both of those things at the same time.
Absolutely, because if we're not celebrating the wins here as well, I feel like they just win, So yeah, absolutely, it's important to celebrate those successes and continue to support local talent. Congratulations to the both of you.
Thank you.
Great news.
I'll see you next week, Ramsey.
Congrats, Basel.
We're going to go to what's it called?
Marina Social.
That's where we're going.
Marina Social.
Yeah.
All right.
And Lubna's buying.
Lubna's buying.
She's got wasta, so we're covered.
Done. You know what? Yeah, I got you guys covered. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Guys, you can watch the show now free on YouTube, or if you've got an account on Splashy TV, you can also stream it there. And then we're on all socials. Also, we're available wherever you get your podcasts: Spotify, Apple, and Rami. And we'll see you tomorrow.